So after the just mama challenge but use media position don't use that so these are all and the 70s my first name kunombani abazohamba
There now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. All the honorable members, I have been informed that by the WE Party, that the WE Party has agreed that there will be no notices of motion or motions without notice. And members are reminded to log on to the system as we will be voting electronically. No, thank you very much. I'm told that the system is frozen, and therefore there may be some difficulties. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of Special Appropriation Bill, B10 2019, reprint, National Assembly, Section 77, and report of Select Committee on Appropriations thereon.
I now call on the chairperson of the Committee on Appropriation to present the report.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Minister of Finance, my principal, and Tate Masonto, honorable members, fellow South Africans. It is my privilege to table before this House a report on the 2019 Special Appropriation Bill on ESCOM on behalf of the Select Committee on Appropriation. The Special Appropriation Bill was tabled by the Minister of Finance on the 23rd of July 2019, and it was referred to the committee on the 22nd of October 2019. Honorable members, we note that the bill was passed by the National Assembly without any specific amendments, and thereafter the bill was referred to the National Council of Provinces for concurrence. In line with Section 13, subsection 2 of the Monetary Bill Act, read together with Section 72 of the Constitution, the committee has a responsibility to hold public hearings on money bills and to report thereon to the National Council of Provinces. To this end, advertisements were published in national and regional newspapers inviting the general public and interested parties to comment on the bill. Honorable members and the chairperson, the committee, together with the Standing Committee on Appropriations, jointly conducted a series of successful stakeholder engagements and public hearings on the bill as required by the Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act, and these include FFC and PBO. Further written submissions were received from the following individuals and organizations: Mr. G. Sigwela, Mr. G. Galston, Fishhook Ratepayers and Resident Association, Alternative Information Development Center, Organization Undoing Tax Abuse, Congress of South African Trade Unions, National Union of Mine Workers, Dear South Africa Online Poll. During this process, the committee engaged robustly and constructively with various stakeholders. The main objective of these engagements was to ensure that the 2019-20 Special Appropriation Bill process becomes transparent, people-centered, and to ensure that the deepening of our democracy continues. The bill proposes the following additional financial support for ESCOM. An additional 26 billion rands for 2019-20 financial year and 33 billion rands in 2020-21 financial year. We must, however, members, note that these amounts, as indicated, and we'll expect that will be adopted today, as a commitment from the Treasury, the Minister of Treasury, Honorable Tito Mboweni, and his Deputy Minister, and Minister of Public Enterprise, a commitment is that the money will not be given to ESCOM as a lump sum. For an example, on the 26 billion rand of 2019-20, there will be a condition that says money needs, the institution, ESCOM, has to make an application and a motivation for a required amount. And depending on the outcome or the approval by Treasury or Department of Finance, they will then get the money. The bill further provides that the Minister of Finance, in writing, must impose conditions to be met by ESCOM before any part of the amount is transferred, and must impose conditions to be met by ESCOM after the transfers of any part of the amounts. Honorable members, we have also had engagements with ESCOM, and during those engagements, a turnaround plan from ESCOM has been presented and engaged by the Joint Committee. There has been critical observations and recommendations made by the committee. And allow me, Chairperson, to take this opportunity to present these critical observations and recommendations to this August House. The Select Committee on Appropriation, having considered the briefings and comments by invited stakeholders on the bill, recommended as follows. The Minister of Public Enterprise and ESCOM should be conscious of the fact that ESCOM cannot rely on government financial support forever, particularly the fiscals. You have heard what the Minister of Finance said yesterday. Provisions of continuous financial support to ESCOM directly from the fiscals has the potential to compromise government's social programs for the poor and other development obligations of the Republic of South Africa. As part of ESCOM's turnaround strategy, concrete steps should be taken to strengthen the work of the CRO, including the swift appointment of the qualified and experienced CEO to turn the financial position of ESCOM around within the reasonable period after the adoption of this report. I think yesterday also, when the Minister was presenting the MTBPS, he has alluded to this fact. How far are they? The Minister of Finance and the Minister of Public Enterprise should ensure that there is full compliance with all conditions prescribed for ESCOM before and after appropriated funds are transferred. Should there be non-compliance, the appropriate consequence management should be instituted expeditiously, which included a stoppage of funds, and report the matter to Parliament within a reasonable time. That's the oversight that we are committed to play. Over and above that, ESCOM should diversify into other alternative energy generation sources and not rely only on coal. This will address the matter of law-approved ESCOM tariffs by NERSA by supplementing the tariffs. ESCOM should revive and escalate the implementation of delayed infrastructure repairs maintenance program deferred due to low or non-availability of maintenance funds, and all other non-core services should be outsourced. This should be done as soon as possible after the adoption of this report. The Minister of Public Enterprises should ensure that ESCOM urgently takes steps to improve the implementation of consequence management regarding mismanagement of funds and corruption in the entity. A progress report should be submitted to Parliament within 3 months after the adoption of the report by the House. The Department of Public Enterprises and National Treasury should put in place mechanisms and strengthen the oversight capacity to monitor Eskom's operations and expenditure, and jointly provide quarterly reports with a prescribed set of performance indicators to Parliament so that we can be able to measure the performance. The Department of Public Enterprises and Eskom Board, in collaboration with National Treasury, the National Prosecuting Authority, the Special Investigating Unit, the Hawks, SAPS, and the State Security Agency, should institute in-depth forensic investigations into the contributing factors of the financial state Eskom finds itself in. A directive or a proclamation by His Excellency President Ramaphosa on this recommended forensic investigation is critical and may even assist to ensure that this recommendation is implemented without delay. This should be done within a reasonable time frame after the adoption of this report. We mean business. Honorable Chair and members, as I conclude, please allow me to take this opportunity to thank all committee members and support staff for the diligent manner in which they have worked in this bill. Without your contributions, it would have been not achieved. It would have not been possible. For us to get to where we want to be, we are required to work together, no matter what our differences are. As the ANC, we acknowledge the fact that issues affecting Eskom might not be resolved overnight, but we are certainly committed to play our part to assist government to resolve these problems that are facing. The Select Committee on Appropriation, Honorable Chairperson, having considered the special appropriation bill referred to it and classified by the joint tagging mechanism as a Section 77 bill, reports that it has agreed to the bill without proposed amendment. I thank you very much.
In accordance with Rule 63, I shall first allow political parties to make the declaration of votes if they so wish. Let's start with Ryder.
Where is security? Mr. Chairperson, please call in the white shirts because Eskom is holding a gun to the head of every person here. Too big to fail is what they told us, and the executives of Eskom decided to take that as permission to continue to mismanage our most strategic commodity. Mr. Chair, the process followed to get this bill to this House has been hopelessly flawed. We've been rushed to ensure that we can pass this bill in time to meet Eskom's looming deadlines. Public participation was given lip service, and the committee has been lied to and misled. Let me explain that statement. On July the 24th, we had a meeting which was recorded in the media and where I called for strict conditions to be placed on this appropriation. There was consensus across party lines. On 9 October, Treasury spent an entire morning listing their proposed conditions and giving the committee various options of introducing these conditions, either through inclusion in the bill or through amending the bill to allow the minister to place regulations on it. Again, there was consensus that tough conditions must be demanded and some should be included in the bill, with power given to the Minister of Finance to impose further conditions. Imagine our horror when we get the final report with an unaltered bill, no conditions, and we get told that the time loans do not allow for the Finance Minister to promulgate regulations. We were misled by Treasury in a spectacular undermining of the parliamentary process. the executive have colluded behind our backs and made a mockery of our oversight role. What Treasury did tell us, though, is that Eskom management continues seemingly unfazed by what is happening. They have not made material changes to how they operate. They submit inaccurate reports and they miss their deadlines. They display arrogance and they refuse to be scrutinized by intelligence authorities. It's just business as usual for them, Mr. Chair. They are showing South Africa the middle finger. And now, once again, the NCOP is going to roll over and merely rubber stamp the bill in a pandering to the executive. I say no, Deputy Minister. I propose that we amend this bill to include, if not the conditions themselves, at the very least a clause to empower the Ministers of Finance and Public Enterprises to enforce strict, measurable and smart conditions, as we all agreed in committee, Honourable Chairperson. And that will ensure that Eskom starts to come back on board with the project of fiscal recovery for South Africa, following the rampant theft that was state capture. Eskom allowed themselves to be captured. They must now submit to scrutiny and control, or we must replace that executive with people who intend to put South Africa first. We reject this report and the bill. Thank you.
Honourable Klute.
Dankie voorsitter. Hier is ons weer met 'n reddingsboei aan Eskom. Nog geld vir nog 'n sukkelende staatsbeheerde entiteit. Chairperson, since 2006 until now, South Africa has given Eskom 83 billion rand. Only, like Mr. Radis said, to be held hostage. We are hostages of the ANC government who appoint their cadres with huge salaries. We are held hostage by short-sighted unions that only protect the interest of a few millions or of a few, while millions of South Africans are literally kept in the dark. We are held hostage by the ANC, who, like a codependent spouse, clings to a manipulating partner in a very unhealthy relationship, who would do anything not to lose that votes. This money will be spent only to bail out Eskom's debt, but it provides no guarantee that the total collapse of Eskom will be prevented. Voorsitter, die voorwaardes aan Eskom wat gestel word beteken niks, want met elke ander reddingsboei was daar ook voorwaardes. En daar was niks. En tog is ons weer hier om geld aan Eskom te gee. En die ontbondeling van Eskom alleen is nie die antwoord nie, voorsitter. Al wat die minister doen is om van een probleem 3 probleme te maak. Tot nou toe was daar geen verantwoordbaarheid nie en Eskom kan aanhou leen en die staat sal maar aanhou gee, so dink hulle. En kom ons vergeet nie van die toestand van munisipaliteite wat weer en weer gaan sukkel om vir elektrisiteit te betaal nie. Die kans is goed dat ons weer hier gaan kom staan op 'n stadium en weer gaan moet wonder hoekom moet ons geld vir Eskom gee. Die VF+ sê haal Eskom uit die hande van die staat en plaas dit in 'n mededingende gereguleerde mark. En kyk hoe Eskom dan sy sokkie sal optrek. Slegs dan sal Eskom baie vinnig met baie gesonde besigheidspraktyke moet funksioneer. Maar tot dan sal Eskom in Suid-Afrika se elektrisiteitsvermoë in die donker bly. En daarom, voorsitter, kan die VF+ nie hierdie ringspakket ondersteun nie.
Yes, Honourable Eunice.
Thank you, Chairperson. Firstly, we should be clear that none of the political parties, not least the ANC, is happy with this bill. I don't think the executive, and certainly the minister and deputy minister and DG, are happy with this bill. So it's not a bill that we enthusiastically support. As we've indicated to Mr. Ryder and his colleagues in the DA and the EFF, Mr. Fani Botha is here. Right. So firstly, we're not happy with this bill. In fact, the clear position of the chairperson of the committee representing the ANC was that we want the conditions for the allocation of this money to be put in the law. But after further discussions within our party, we felt it's absurd to put it in the law because conditions change all the time. We live in volatile, uncertain circumstances. So every time you want to put more stringent conditions, you will have to go back and change the law, and that could take you up to a year by the time you gazette it. Then we said, let's put it in the regulations. And we discovered as we got closer to agreement on that, Mr. Ryder is right, there was agreement across all political parties that we should put it in the bill. But then Treasury came back to us, and where Mr. Ryder is right, Deputy Minister, is Treasury should have alerted us at the outset that our decision across political parties to insert it into the regulations rather than in the bill, the conditions for this allocation, are not feasible for the following reasons. When those reasons were spelled out, it made perfect sense to us. By the time the minister regulates, by the time it's gazetted, by the time the public comments, by the time Parliament, if it decides in law to look and approve of those regulations, it would take up to a year. One could even argue, though I don't think that's Mr. Ryder's intent, that it's a sinister attempt by the DA to destroy Eskom and this country simply so that the ANC government can fail. Eskom does not belong to the ANC, it belongs to the country. For Eskom to collapse would mean the whole democratic project, which the DA doesn't support, as we know full well from the conditions of the last 3 weeks, they've gone back to being essentially a white party, where they say race doesn't matter, in a country which has the most huge racialized inequalities in the world. They say race doesn't matter. How? Just how are they going to win votes of black people? I do not know. But let me go on. Chairperson. This we must be clear. There's a fundamental difference between the DA and us, not on the bill, Chairperson. They have a different vision of the role of the NCOP. They think we're a federal state. So even bills on which we do not have concurrent powers and functions, they want us to go through what is not required in terms of the Constitution or any constitutional court decision. Yes, on Section 76 bills, there must be full, active public participation. On bills that are not concurrent, we have a limited role. And even there is no space for the public to participate in a situation where the Constitution prescribes what the role of the NCOP is, and the rules of Parliament make clear what public participation is as endorsed by the courts. So what would be the point of somebody coming and saying, put it in the regulations when it's not feasible? So please, let's deal with the issues, let's not politicize it. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Member. Is there another declaration? Yes. House
Chairperson, thank you very much. The EFF do not support this bill for the mere fact that you have put business people who continues to loot Eskom in the name of board members. South Africa and South African will never benefit anything from this bill. Eskom remain untransformed, and we all know that that's where the looting began. And we all know that with the leadership there of Jamnandas, Eskom will never be transformed. Therefore, the EFF will never support anything which comes from the direction of looters of Eskom and Jamnandas himself. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Any other declaration? None. So it seems we are done with declarations. Honorable members, the question before the House is that the bill be agreed to. Yes. Perhaps what we should do is to find out and call upon those who agree to the bill to say yes. And those who are saying no to the bill to say no, those who are against. And proceed then to find out if there are those who are abstaining. Okay. No, thank you very much. I guess the bells will be run for 2 minutes. Honorable members, we'll now proceed to voting. And can I ask the whips to assist, as is the practice. Let's start with those who are voting for the motion, in support of the motion. Please raise your hands. Yeah. Please, let's just finish this part. Okay. No, I'll come back to you just now. Okay. Those who want to who are voting against, please raise your hands. Yes. What's the problem? What's the
I was suggesting that, Chair, we must have
Point of
two
order.
people who are counting so that we can be sure about the numbers. It can't be that one person is.
Yeah, but
is
they're
counting.
here. They're here.
We don't want to be robbed, Chair.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I think everything is being done order. Order on members, yes.
Chairperson, firstly,
What's the point of order?
I want us to confirm the number that was written down, because I don't want to come at the end and then there's a query. So I want us to confirm the number that was written down now, and then we can do the other one. We're also embarrassing ourselves when we actually have a system that's supposed to work, and we cannot even get this system to work properly.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Please allow the process to continue. Can we now have people who are voting against the
Sorry,
motion?
so
to
Chairperson, you're
read?
ignoring the request on the first count.
We'll give you the total at the end. We'll announce the result at the end. Thank you very much. Can we proceed with those who are against? Those who are against?
Chairperson, you have two people from the same party that did the count. Now you want us to just trust. It's the Mark Wolf skaapwagter. How does that work?
Members, I did ask for the whips to assist, as is the practice. So we'll stick to. Can those who want to vote against the motion raise their hands? Please, let's count. Can we, Landsman, yes. Yes. Just a plea, honorable members, a request that we please make the task a bit easier and smoother. So we're urging you to really assist. We're going to count the numbers again of all honorable members who are opposed to the motion. Can you please raise your hands? Yes, Makaus.
Chairperson,
What's the point of order?
we all know your party is well known of rigged votes. No, it's only fair that different political party agents count the votes here.
Order, honorable members. No, just relax. Just relax. Order, honorable members. We will. Can I please ask you, honorable members, to sit down? Please. No. For now, I don't need assistance. For now, maybe in future, some other time, and so on. Can I now request members who are opposed to the motion to please raise their hands so that counting can happen? Please.
I'm actually going to, Chairperson,
Honorable Landsman, please sit down. Please take your seat, please.
Chairperson, we have done it before in the NCOP. I proposed a physical division, and then it will make it a lot easier to count the votes. We've done this before. It's a precedent that said, allow a physical division, and then we vote.
Let's do it easy. Let's do it. Now you are paid to support us. You are with us.
Please. Just a minute.
He didn't even agree to it. People just started walking.
Honorable members, let's proceed. What's the point of order? Thank you very much. For the sake of just concluding this process, can we now proceed, honorable members, can we now proceed and have those members of the House who are opposed to the motion lifting their hands? Please lift your hands. Taia, yes. No, that's, yeah. Please don't raise two hands, one hand. Taia, you're done. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to the next step. Can we have those members who are abstaining raising their hands? Any member abstaining? No. Thank you very much. Voting is now closed, and the voting went on as follows. In favor, 28, against, 17, Abstaining, 0. The majority of members have voted in favor, and therefore the motion is declared agreed to. That, honorable members, concludes the debate. Please. That concludes the debate and the business of the day. And honorable members are requested to remain standing until the procession has left the chamber. Thank you very much. Yeah?